Since last 10 years, one term is very much into the professional industry. Startups. Especially the young chaps who are just coming out from the colleges, they are too much fascinated with this term, startup. And today we are with Ravi K Ranjan. Ravi K Ranjan is an entrepreneur, evangelist, expert of startup ecosystem, you can say. So, how the startup works, what are the startups, why in the market the failure rate is so high, all these things we try to find out with today with Ravi K Ranjan. Welcome to the Blue News, Ravi.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
So, first, let's tell to our viewers about your journey, what you did, and how you came into this startup ecosystem.
Sure. I think it's very interesting. Glad to be here. And interestingly, I studied journalism. Started my career as a radio jockey, a journalist. So I've done all of this. So it looks very interesting. I remember from the time in 2004 when we had very traditional form of media to today, where we have the world of podcast and so many video channels. I think it's very interesting how the media industry has gone. So yeah, that's one part of it. After spending a couple of years in media, I realized that while this is great, I want to do something better where I can contribute a lot to people's life. Fortunately, in 2010, I got an opportunity to be part of the startup ecosystem, where I used to manage one of the first incubator and angel network in India, known as Indian Angel Network. Now, I'm talking about 2010. At that time, if you go and tell someone that, oh, listen, I left my job and I'm building a startup, they would, I think, definitely report you to police or the hospital saying
at
that
least
this
report
guy,
to your parents, your son is going crazy.
In fact, let's say you're getting married and you tell your in-laws that I'm a founder, the high chances are that the marriage would not happen. This was the world.
But same situation was for Janazim also. So it was okay.
So this was the situation, but again, I could see that this is the future, and I could see that only through entrepreneurship a lot of problems across the world would be able to get solved. Fortunately, I was there at the core of all the action which is going on. I have seen the Indian startup ecosystem growing and global startup ecosystem as well. When I came and became part of this, we had less than 2,000 startups in India. Today, India is the third largest ecosystem in the world, and a lot of great things are happening.
In fact, we are the global leader in startups.
Absolutely.
India has produced maximum number of unicorns.
Absolutely.
So, as per your expertise, why India is leading? What are the factors you are seeing?
A lot of reasons. Number one, that first of all, India is the fastest growing economy in the world. Yeah. Number two, India has more than 50% population which is below 30 years age. What it means is that a lot of people would like to take risk and they would like to build things which they think can add value. Also, if you look at from the history and economic point of view, 2 generations before our generation, our grandparents, they were struggling with a lot of issues, like there was colonization, low poverty,
mortality was very high.
So then they were concerned about how do we survive and sustain. Yes. Then our father's generation came in, where they were like, okay, fine, we are surviving. How do we came to the next level? Now this generation, fortunately, they have basics taken care of, and that is where they are able to now go out and take higher risk. The minute it happened, it just kind of, it catapulted and became a very, very large playground where people with innovative ideas can play around. So going back, when I was part of Indian Angel Network, we supported a lot of companies, and then 2014 I moved to Hong Kong for a year to work with another large fund. But then 2014 December, I came back to India to manage at that point the world's largest startup initiative called 10,000 Startups by NASSCOM. Very interesting program supported by Government of India, NASSCOM, various state governments, and funded by companies like Google, Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, all of them. In the next couple of years, we were able to support more than 20,000 startups. And interestingly, during this time, I used to travel across the country. So I started training entrepreneurs, teachers, etc. Till date, I have trained more than 2 lakh entrepreneurs, 20,000 academicians, 2,000 government officials, and I have been part of more than 2,000 startup events across the world.
Wow, so you are a university itself. So when we are talking about the startup ecosystem, so what is this ecosystem, how it works, if you can give a overview on that.
Very interesting. So startup ecosystem is primarily a lot of people and organizations coming together to develop the movement and the growth of startup ecosystem across the world. There are a lot of ecosystems. The top one is Silicon Valley in the US. Then you have in Europe. India is today the biggest in the world, one of the biggest in the world. Primarily what happens in an ecosystem, people are not dependent too much on government. They are not dependent too much on policies. If it's good, it's very good. If it's not, it's okay. They don't bother. People selflessly come and help each other. So you're building an idea, people are there to guide you. People are there to fund you. People are there to give you more money to grow. People are there to support you without expecting a lot in return. It's like a family where you take care of each other. So the startup ecosystem is a very close-knit community of founders, investors, and other people who help each other so that they can grow together.
Great. Now let's be a devil's advocate. Whenever I'm talking to some established businessman, I will not name him, but he told me, see, usually we are running the business and our business is running the finance. Finance is developing because of our business. In a startup, scenario is different. Because they are getting the finance, they are running the business. And there is the only reason they are running behind the finance, they are answerable to the finance. And this is the reason they are getting fail, or they are always into the pressure. Or there is another reason, like they are saying that venture capitalists are controlling, like your ideas. How you are saying it?
No, I think it's a very good question, and in a way you answered the question already. I'll try and explain it. People have been doing business for thousands of years. It's not that, for the first time people are building startups or businesses. They have been doing it forever. The difference between a business and a startup is that a business is designed from day one, keeping in mind that I want to be profitable immediately. The biggest objective of running a business is to make profit. Startups also do business. They also want to make profit, but their prime objective is to solve a problem. Let's take it by an example. Today, 10 years ago, if you want a taxi, you need to kind of go out to the taxi stand.
You have to wait on the road,
etc., right? Today, just on one couple of taps, you get a taxi available. Imagine you run a business of taxi. You buy a taxi, you put it in market, you make some money, you make profit, then you get few more taxis, then you get 100 taxis. You cannot scale beyond that, however. However, a company like Careem or a company like Uber, today they are present in more than 150-60 countries, and they are able to do it because the objective was to make sure that people can get taxi as soon as they want it. When you build something like this, what you're doing is that you are not only solving a problem, you're also changing buyers' behavior. And it takes a long time to tell people that, listen, let's do it this way. For example, another example is that we are very comfortable, and we have always been comfortable with using cash. But then there were companies who said that, listen, you can also use credit card. It took more than 20 years for credit card to become mainstream.
And
but
now the digital.
It is, right?
Oh.
So basically what I'm trying to say is that whenever you try and build something very unique, it takes a long time before people actually accept it. And you would not be able to make it profitable unless a lot of people use it. And in order to reach till there, you need a lot of capital to make this possible. And that's why a lot of private players, including venture capital funds, angel networks, family offices, private equity, they invest money in startups. Today, some of the top companies in the US are startups. Some of the top companies in India are startups. All the large companies started as a startup. Reliance. I mean, there are so many examples across.
But there is also reality that more than 33 big startups in India, they are in a loss of more than 22,000 crore rupees. And big names like Paytm, Mobilink, Zomato, Curator, no one is showing the profit.
Exactly. That is correct, and there's no denying into that. But again, let's go back to the same question. Today, India is the largest growing fintech economy in the world. Almost every transaction can be used through UPI. One of the biggest contributor to this is our companies like Paytm, PhonePe, etc. It took them a long time. Obviously, when you're building a large movement, not a company, it takes a long time for people to accept it. Is Paytm always going to be in loss? Not really. They're going to be profitable sometime. Yes, it's taking a little more time than what you expect. And that is when traditional business owners start making various accusations saying that why you are bleeding every single year and people still are putting money. Think about it, all the large funds across the world, they are obviously not stupid that they are putting money into a company which is not making sense. They know the potential which will come. For example, LinkedIn, Facebook, WhatsApp, for many years they were not making profit. Today, can you imagine a life without WhatsApp and Facebook and Google? You cannot. That's how change works. Yeah.
And other thing, like startups gives very good salaries to their employees because nothing is going from their pocket. They are getting the money from the venture capitalist, and they are not thinking to only spend. Their marketing budget are always larger than life, and end of the day they are falling in the crisis, and then again going for the investment series. So how this, what you think, is it the right approach for the startups?
So when you're building something very unique, you need very unique minds on team. To get very highly talented people, you need to compensate them well. You need to take care of them. You need to build a good culture. A lot of startups, including companies like Google, Facebook, they spend a lot of money in making their workspaces very, dynamic, making sure that their employees are taken care of, because these are very talented people. If you don't appreciate their talent, they might not stick with you. And when you're building a startup, it's not always that you get really good salary. I know so many companies where the founders don't take salary for 2-3 years. Early stage employees take 50% pay cut. They work on equity and etc. because they believe in the cause of it. Not one, there are hundreds of stories of this. Once they get funded, once they get revenues, yes, they do spend on making the lifestyle better. But again, that's the culture, how it's growing across the world. Again, I don't want to name companies, but there are companies who pay their employees really bad salary. They take advantage of them. They make them overwork. The culture is really toxic. So they're both sides of the stories, right?
Okay. Now, two term is very common. One is unicorn. One is bubble, startup bubble. And always experts have to view that unicorn is a mythological character which no one has seen, and bubble can burst anytime.
See, first of all, there's absolutely no bubble. Let's only talk about India, a country of 1.5 billion people. Today we have less than 0.5% people building startups. How is there a bubble? The bubble would happen when 50% audience in India will start building startup and things start going wrong. The day India has, the Indian population, even if 1% of them start building startup, you know how many startups we'll have? 10 million. 10 million. Look at UAE, look at Middle East, a very small country, but with a lot of disposable income. The day when we have a lot of people from the UAE they invest money in gold, assets like real estate. If they start investing in startups, we'll see more governance, we'll see more capital, and we'll see more problems being solved. And that is our objective, to educate a lot of people across the globe about how they need to come out and support startups.
So that was the talk about the misconceptions and theories about the startups. Now it's time to learn from Ravi. So Ravi, if someone wants to start up, like he has an idea, how to start, whom to reach?
Sure, very good question. In fact, I have been talking about it for last many years across. That's where I train more than 20,000 people. In 2020, during the peak COVID, I got an opportunity to design a very famous TV show called Shark Tank India.
Shark Tank India.
And when we were doing it, our objective was to make sure that every person across the country understand about startup. They understand about the terms and technicalities of startup. So let's say you have an idea of building a company which is very unique. The first thing what you need to do is that you need to do your market research to see what you're trying to build. Is it really unique, or you think it's unique? So do the market validation, number one. Number two, once you are convinced, then create a small business plan structure where you know what is the problem, how you're solving it, how to find your team, how to build the first product, how to take it out to the market. Number three, you need some money to make it happen. I would recommend put your own money for the first few stages where you can build the early prototype. Once you do that, then you need more money, and that is when you can go to your friends, your family, or other sources. What are the other sources? You can reach out to an incubator or an accelerator where they can validate your idea and also get you some cash. The next step is to raise money from angel investors. Now, angel investors are individual people who have disposable income and they can invest in your company. Once you get money from angel investors, the next step is to raise money from venture capital funds, which are large funds which can invest a huge amount of money. And then you keep on growing. By the time you also start making revenue and you start becoming profitable. So that's a typical cycle.
So there are many terms we are always listening, like venture capitalist, unicorn, seeding investment, Series A, Series B, pitching deck. Just we'll discuss who are the venture capitalists.
Sure. So primarily, let's say you want to support a startup, you put 5 lakh rupees in that startup. You are an angel investor because you're taking a risk.
Angel investor are the one who is initially investing in that.
Initially at a very early
stage. That's why he's angel.
That's why he's an angel supporting at a very early stage. VC is a professional setup where large investors, they collectively put their money in a fund which is managed by a professional. So think of it like angel investment is like stock market and VC fund is a mutual fund. Where your capital is at a particular fund and somebody professional is managing that fund and they're investing in a startup. So VCs come typically at a late stage.
So this term seeding investment and angel investor is almost
so seed same. And early stage investment is done primarily by angel investors, and then you start raising Series A, Series B, Series A. These are all done by
VCs. And pitching is to how to.
Pitching is simple. I have an idea. I come to you and I tell you about my idea. You ask me questions. We exchange thoughts, and you are like, okay, this is good. I'll put some money in your company.
Okay. But pitching deck, I think is the most critical part, because here you are going to present your ideas.
Yes.
And many times happens when you have ideas, you are very good into that, but you are not good in finance or you are not good in numbers. What to do? Should they come to you?
Absolutely, yeah. In fact, this was one of the biggest problem which we saw, and that's when I built a company called Velocity One. We are a pitch deck expert company. What we do is that we work with a lot of VCs, accelerators, startups, and we understand their story and we redefine the story in a very beautiful manner, where we present a pitch deck for them which talks about the problem, solution, and also we design it in a very nice way. We have done this for hundreds of startups and they have raised a lot of capital through this. So I would recommend, you don't actually need a professional unless you think you need it. You can do it on your own. There are a lot of templates available online. You can just go and search and build something on your own. But there are professional companies in market who can help you make sure that you have a very good quality pitch deck.
Great. So when we are in UAE, we can see a lot of Indian startups are literally rushing to UAE market. What is the reason why they are leaving the India and why UAE is attracting to their startups?
Absolutely. So one of the biggest reason is a lot of Web3 startups are moving to UAE.
Okay, just what is Web3?
So Web 1 was when the internet was developed.
We had that Web3.
Early stage of thing, and Web 3 is the next phase of internet, where a lot of things will become decentralized and you will have more control over data. So Web 3 companies include cryptocurrencies, it includes metaverse, etc., etc. So what happened is that Web 3, especially crypto, is not legally accepted in a lot of countries across the world. However, UAE being a very innovative country, they said that, listen, we understand the potential and we want to support you. So they built policies which are favorable to Web3 and crypto startups. That is why a lot of Web3 and crypto startups have moved to UAE. Also, definitely because of UAE's very liberal tax structure, where there is no personal income tax and very low corporate tax. A lot of startups want to move their financial base to UAE.
Yes. There is a reason. Okay.
Plus, no, I should not say that's the only reason. I should definitely say that the leaders of UAE are very unique. They have a very strong vision to support the next wave of growth, and that's why, see, you're building something nice. If people appreciate you, you want to be close to them.
Yeah,
that's how it is.
It was very insightful. If you have some idea, you have a startup, or you are planning to have a startup, and you are sticking somewhere, Ravi K Ranjan is always available to you. You can reach him and avail the future.
Thank you so much.
You, Ravi.
All the
Thank
best,
you for
everyone. Thank you.
Like and subscribe to our channel. Hit the bell icon to get notification from the Brew News.